What is a subtle sign that someone is actually really intelligent, but pretending not to be? One time, 20 years ago, a professor of mine, who I respected a ton, said, "I think I understand what you're saying, but can you explain what you mean one more time just in case?" I was dumbstruck in the idea that someone wanted to make sure they understood me, that what I'm saying might be complicated enough, that they wouldn't get it immediately. To this day, I always try to do the same. It's absolutely amazing how little we understand each other the first time, and how scared we are at looking stupid for not instantly getting it perfect, not being afraid to ask for clarification. Because that's what heroes do. I don't think I'm very intelligent, but if someone speaks like they are the smartest person in the room, I'm always more than happy to play the part of the idiot. Playing the fool makes it easier to see people for who they really are. If they're good people, they won't change much. If they're bad people, they'll attempt to talk down to you or manipulate you. They listen more than they talk, then drop one comment that reframes everything. But it's not just silence. It's active listening and knowing when to ask questions too. I find hyper-intelligent people ask a lot of questions that usually always lead somewhere. I taught a class of gifted elementary students. There was one girl like that. They were all very intelligent. They'd be discussing something, and just at the right moment, she would say something that stopped everyone while they thought about it. She opened her mouth about once every 2 weeks, but I always looked forward to it. From what I noticed, it's the accidental display of skill. Once in a while, seemingly by mistake, intelligent people might let slip a highly nuanced observation or a complex, esoteric piece of knowledge, e.g., citing a very specific historical detail or using a sophisticated analogy, before quickly retreating back to their simpler persona. Being aware of their own gaps in knowledge and being willing to have their opinions changed. I've always been in awe of people that are able to admit that they don't know an answer and are willing to go find it. Shows an understanding of the topic and of themselves. I see a lot of answers about being quiet and listening, which I agree. However, I'd argue one of the most intelligent people I've ever met is pretty talkative, pretty boisterous, and so damn funny. He frequents the bar often. I think he just likes to socialize. And I see him talking to all different walks of people. Always has something he can identify with them on. Always discussing interesting topics, and always making people laugh. I enjoy when I go to happy hour, and he is there. I've yet to meet someone with really high emotional intelligence who wasn't also smart across the board. Conversely, I've met tons of people who could probably build a rocket from scratch, but couldn't build a rapport with a stranger to save their lives. But EI is how everything gets done in the real world, and it's easy and free. You can be genuinely kind and thoughtful to the cashier at a store or your server at a restaurant, and it's never a bad idea. Socially, it's how you get invited back to parties and invited out to activities. Professionally, the person who is easy and pleasant to work with will probably be the one who survives the round of layoffs. People I know and admire with strong EI are usually seen as thoughtful by others. They hang back if someone is walking slower. They remember when you got cut off in the middle of saying something in a group and give you another opening to continue your thought. They make a point of remembering small likes and dislikes and using that information later on for gifts or in a later conversation. In many ways, we are defined by our public and social perception. That doesn't mean you should be fake or only live to impress others. It means that you have a lot to gain by putting more effort into being aware of those around you, especially people who don't immediately have something you want or need. I dated a girl who was a legit genius and child prodigy, admitted to MIT at about 16 to study astrophysics. I wouldn't say she necessarily ever pretended not to be smart, but sometimes her brainpower showed through in ways she may not have been aware of, because it was just normal for her. For instance, if she learned a skill, she retained it. She was a military brat who had lived all around the world, so she had learned several languages, and she still spoke them. She didn't learn them while living there, and then forget them, like most people might. Of course, I had no ability to evaluate how well she spoke them. But as far as I know, she was at least competent in Japanese, Finnish, and French, maybe German as well, I don't recall, from having lived in each place for a time as a child, and having Japanese and Finnish family members. Likewise, she could draw and sing very well. Once she learned something, she retained it. Another thing was, sometimes she'd figure out the plot twist in a movie or story way ahead of when the viewer or reader might be expected to get it. The example I can remember was the movie Lone Star, in which the big reveal is, spoiler alert for a movie from the 1990s. The two leads, who dated when they were younger, have strong chemistry and fall back into a relationship during the film, are half-brother and sister. This was a big reveal towards the end. This girl I'm talking about figured it out early on and didn't realize it was supposed to be a surprise because it was obvious to her. It wasn't the only time she did that. I knew someone in high school that spent a few years pretending to not be smart, partied a lot, barely passed their classes, but were in all advanced classes. Got called Bimbo, was an actual nickname from a friend, and Ditz. But if there was a relationship drama, they could quote whole conversations word for word, even days later. They didn't take home homework and rarely studied, usually in class right before the exam, but always got by. Could spend the whole class talking with friends or passing notes at the back of class, but still did the work, at least enough to pass. They worked a lot as well, which funded their partying, and were involved in a lot of school activities. Then, near the end of high school, they started doing really well. They wanted to go to university and their marks started to matter. Got on the honor roll, got scholarships, went off to school and now have a PhD. Surprised some people, but not everyone. Mechanically gifted or crafts gifted, often they'll fix things and not say anything. Or you'll say a thing is broken and the next day it's just not. They don't know others can't do these things. I never have to replace appliances, cars, furnace, nothing. I just fix them. Mathematic gifted. They'll gently nudge you with pointed questions on your budgets and proposals. They can see something for 2 minutes that you spend 4 weeks on, completely comprehend it, and know something's wrong. They'll very often simply ask you to explain something, so you see the error and get the credit. They'll hide right under your nose as someone that can do math in their head, that you have to look up how to do it all and never mention it. They assume you can, but you're just busy or anxious, not that you can't. Verbally gifted, you'll feel like when you talk to them, you're so grounded. You feel as if things just somehow make way more sense when they're around. They're not controlling about it, but they may be someone who asks you about you a lot. They twist what you say back on your unthinking self. There is a darker version of this, those that know they do this and can control it. Most don't do harm with it, some can. If you've ever been around someone you think is even-tempered, but seems to cause people to explode just asking questions, likely their verbal gift. Word, folks. God forbid you make a grammar error. Oh, and if you want to know the difference between will, must, may, shall, and elect, ask them. They'll know. These people are pains in the asses of egotistical managers, anywhere where there is a large employee handbook. They will manipulate the fuck out of it and their management as mild entertainment. They master malicious compliance. Worse than lawyers. Pattern folks. Carry on a full conversation with you while knitting or doing crochet. Or know exactly who is in charge of a room without having ever met anyone within 15 to 30 seconds. Often they train themselves to mistrust this because they think everyone else is deliberately ignoring being able to do it, but can't tell you why. Well, that's all for now, dear friends. Write in the comments what signs of an intelligent person you know, or which of the above signs you agree with. I'll finish the video. Thank you all for watching. Good luck to everyone.